Hey, what's going on, weavers? Tim here again. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. And in today's tutorial, we're learning how to make a single loop Conquistador Paracord Bracelet. So this bracelet is very unique in that it's a closed loop bracelet with a bit of elasticity to it. So you don't have to undo the bracelet, you just slip it on and off. And remember, if you're looking for where to get paracord and all the other materials I use in this video, check out those links down below. Let's get into it. So to do this bracelet, I've got a bit of 550 paracord, and I will also need some shock cord, which is a type of elastic cord. So we're going to start off with our piece of 550, and I've got one end of the paracord, and I'm going to put a bend in it, like so. And now I'm going to start wrapping the long end around that bend, and I'm going to wrap it about 3 times. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3. And then after the 3rd wrap, you'd have something that looks like what I have here. And from here, what I'm going to do is take that long end of the paracord and put it through the loop on the right side there. Take that long end, feed it through the loop, and pull that cord all the way through to the other side. So once I have all that cord through the loop, I'm going to pull on the short end there and close up that loop. So I'm going to close that loop up and just firm up this entire coil so it looks like this. Okay, so this is what you should have, and this should be your starting point. Now from here with my coil, I've got a 550 paracord fid attached to the other end, and I'm starting with the long cord on the right side. And I'm holding it in this orientation. So now we're going to start a Conquistador. I'm going to take the fid and put it through the first loop. And I'm kind of going in from the left side to the right, and that is the first loop that's closest to the long end. You're going to pull all that excess cord through, and then you're going to cinch it up, and you'll start making these sort of diagonal loops. Okay, so that's one loop. And you're going to continue going through the next loop, again, sort of from the left side of the coil to the right. And after you put that fid through the loop, see how it goes sort of in front. Do not put it through the larger loop on the right side, but pull all that cord through. And there you can see we're going to close up the second loop. Okay, so it's going to start making this row of diagonal loops as it happens with the Conquistador. And now I'm going through the last loop, or the 3rd loop, and we again go through that loop from the left to the right side, push the fid all the way through, and then pull all the excess cord through, again ensuring that you don't go through the large loop on the right side. Okay, so get all that cord through, and now you should have these 3 sort of diagonal looking loops. And you're going to firm all that up. And this is where you should be right now. So now we've done 3 loops. Now we're going to start going back the other direction. So again, I'm going to go through the front of the loop this time, I guess from the right side to the left. Pull all the excess cord through and close up that loop. Okay, so now we're doing the sort of a second row of the Conquistador. And then again, with the fid, go through the front of that loop, or the right side of the loop if you want to call it that. I'm going to go through to the other side and pull it through. So once you get the Conquistador started, it's very simple. It's hard to get lost, you know. You can only really go one way. I'm going to continue with that 3rd loop, and now we're sort of back to where we started after this loop. Okay, push the fid through and pull it through. So this is the Conquistador pattern. I'm sure some of you are familiar with this already from last week's video. But for those of you that aren't, you know, this is how we do the Conquistador. And now we're back to where we started on the right side. And again, you're just going to continue that. So you're going back and forth, and notice how I go through that same first loop again. And we're going back from the right to the left. Okay, so we're just going to continue tying, or rather weaving these Conquistador knots. And you're going to do this until you've reached your desired length. So now I've woven a length of my Conquistador bracelet, and it's just about enough to go around my wrist. And going back to the original side, now I'm going to go back to that coil where we started, and I'm just going to pull out one of this, the bends, okay? So that was that we put like a double bend in it. We're just going to pull that out. And I just felt like doing this makes the bracelet a lot easier to close up and it looks a bit neater. So just pull that one bend out and then cinch up that side so it's nice and tight. So nothing too special there. So as for length, I've made enough just to go around the circumference of my wrist. And when we add the elastic shock cord, that's going to add to the length just a little bit. And now this is what the starting end of the bracelet should look like. So now working with our piece of shock cord, I'm going to tie a single scaffold knot in one end like so. I'm just going to wrap it around my finger twice and put the short end of the shock cord through those two loops and just pull it tight. Okay, so this is going to be kind of like a stopper knot to prevent the shock cord from slipping through. And you're just going to firm that up. Okay. So they have our stopper knot. Now I'm going to attach my fid to the shock cord. And this might be a little bit difficult depending on what types of fid you use. You may have to melt the end of the shock cord a little bit. Now with the same working end of my Conquistador, this is the end that we've been weaving onto. We're going to sort of, I guess, graft on, you can call it, the shock cord. So you see how my loops are facing this direction and I've got my cord on the right side. I'm going to go in from the left side of those loops and I'm going to go through all three of those Conquistador loops with my shock cord. So I'm going to work that through the loops. I want my shock cord to go through those three loops and out to the right side, and I want it to come out where the 550 cord is. So see that stopper knot is going to prevent the rest of the cord from coming through. So now from here, all I'm going to do is continue the Conquistador knots, but with my shock cord. And I'm going to tie 2 rows, or rather weave 2 rows of the Conquistador knots with the shock cord. Now, if you want a larger portion of your bracelet to be made of shock cord, you can, by all means do more, but I'm just using, I guess, the least amount I need. So just 2 rows for me. And if you want to play around with the lengths of the 550 versus the shock cord, you can do that too. So I'm tying knotting my 2 rows of the shock cord Conquistador. And now, while we do the last row, we did 2 rows, this is the 3rd row, we're going to connect these Conquistador knots made of shock cord to the other side of the bracelet. So I went through 1 knot as if I'm continuing, and now before we go through the next knot, we're going to connect it to the other side. And from the first loop on the other side, I'm going to go in from the left to the right side and pull that cord all the way through. And then now back to the Conquistador knots, I'm going to go through the next knot as I normally would. Okay, pull that all the way through. Get all that shock cord through to the other side. And I'm leaving a bit of slack just to, make it easier to work with. And then now for the next knot, go through the next loop on the other side. Okay. So kind of from the left to the right, all through the loop on the other side. And now we're coming back to the shock cord Conquistador side. Go through that last knot. Pull all of that through, and then now again through the very last sort of 3rd knot on the 3rd loop on the other side, and push that shock cord through. And now we're ending up right where the other strand of 550 is. Okay. So now you can see it's lined up next to that first end of the 550. Now to close this off, I'm going to put the lead end of the shock cord through those loops we made. That's why I didn't cinch it up. So just put that fid through those loops and just cinch it up and get all the excess of the shock cord out to the other side. I'm just going to pull up on those loops in the middle there, and that's going to pull everything together. So get all the excess out, pull the next one out. Of course, you could just use your fingers. And you're working all that excess out to the very end of the shock cord that you were working with. Okay, and pull it out to the left side there. And now we've just got one last thing to do before we tie our second stopper knot. So from here, I've got my end there sticking out the front. I'm going to put it through this last little loop here on the Conquistador side. I didn't really like the shock cord sticking out the sort of, I guess you can call it the side of the bracelet. So I just pushed it through this one little random loop here. And I feel like that works a bit better in terms of looks because the stopper knot will then be right next to the other stopper knot on the other side. So then from there, again, just tie the exact same scaffold knot, wrap the 2 loops around the finger, have those cords cross over, and then put that working end through those 2 loops and pull it all the way out to the other side. And cinch up that stopper knot and close up that stopper knot as close to the bracelet as you can, just to keep it nice and neat. And from there, we're just going to clip off our excess 550 cord. So we got a bit on the starting side. And again, as usual, I'm going to snip those off with my scissors and melt them with my lighter, press down on it with an auger's tool. And of course, take care of that original strand where we finished the 550 Conquistador, melt that too. And I've got a bit of excess for my shock cord. Just a word on melting this cord. You don't want to melt it too long with the lighter because there is, elastic rubber in there. So just touch them with the lighter just a little bit. You don't want to burn it too long. All right, and there we have it. There is our single loop Conquistador Paracord Bracelet. No closure needed. You just slip this one on and off. And depending on how snug you make this bracelet, you're going to have, there's like a minimum size you're going to have to make, right, to be able to get your hand through. But if you don't want to struggle too much to get the bracelet through, you can make it larger, but it will not fit as nicely. And there it is. Single loop Conquistador. I haven't really seen anything like this before. Hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. And a huge thank you to all my Patreon supporters. If you guys want access to exclusive tutorials each and every month, feel free to check out my Patreon page. You can join for as low as $3 a month and reap the full benefits there. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed what I did in this video, feel free to check out what I have to offer on the rest of my channel. Bye.